argue.
What's up, gang?
All right, guys, welcome to Nightslight AstroNews. Just covering the news stories. It's always a chill Friday stream, so just hanging out. We've got some interesting stuff this week, actually. Nothing groundbreaking or crazy, but definitely some interesting things. Things moving behind the scenes, shifting, kind of getting ready for early July, late June, that time period as far as the astrology is concerned. So I keep on saying enjoy your last chill month of the year as far as the astrology goes, because definitely going to heat up, and I think what's going to define 2026 is really going to be about what happens over the summer here. And I've said before, I'm calling this the summer of disclosure. Doesn't mean we're getting necessarily the truth or it will be for humanity's benefit, anything like that. But it does seem like, as far as looking at both the astrology and the way things are shifting behind the scenes, they're getting ready to drop some type of disclosure op on us. Um, and well, yeah, it'll definitely take us for a ride, I think. And then there's all these other things moving around behind the scenes that really indicate some level of, I don't know if I'd say chaos. Chaos seems more like 2028, 2027, but definitely some interesting things that will blow our minds. And let's get started here, though. So I have a few things I've saved throughout the week, so we'll kind of get through those, and then we'll just look at the live feed. Most recent thing I saved here is Steven Spielberg says the truth about UFOs will dislocate society and cause humans to question their religion. So he has a movie coming out called Disclosure Day. Let's actually see when Disclosure Day comes out so I can give you an exact day on that. I think it's early June, June 6th maybe, June 12th, right there, June 12th. And then June 12th, it's going to be 2 days before the the UFC fight on the White House. That's going to be on Flag Day on June 14th, also Donald Trump's birthday. And that's going to be a really interesting one there because everyone is getting really worried about there being some type of terror event. Now, I need to look at the astrology. Well, I guess I looked at the astrology today. I didn't see anything too insane on that. I saw the day before we have the moon conjunct Uranus in Gemini. And so technically it will still be in Gemini at that time. We could be running with that energy. That is a chaotic energy. Very fitting for it being Trump's birthday, especially with Uranus in there and how Uranian he is. But yeah, this is coming out 2 days before. And I've continued to say, everyone's like, oh, the disclosure's coming, the disclosure's coming. I'm like, well, it's not coming before June 12th. It's not coming before this comes out because this is going to have all sorts of stuff in it that's meant to get into our subconscious, that's meant to prep us. There's this whole idea of giving permission to things in esotericism, in I guess, spellcraft you could say that the elites use. And so this is kind of manufacturing our consent for whatever they're going to drop on Disclosure Day. I mean, it's even kind of working just in the title itself, me calling it Disclosure Day. But I'd rather stick to the summer of disclosure, of course. But so that's going to be interesting. And really, I've thought it's closer to that 4th of July time frame, something like that. But yeah, and then you've even just got the cast are people who you're used to having esoteric movies that they're in that have like deeper meanings, that kind of stuff. Another interesting thing about this, in an interview that Steven Spielberg was doing, he was talking about how Obama came onto the set. So and then Obama came out with that movie, produced it, I believe, the Leave the World Behind movie. And so it's just, this is something you have to realize when I talk about interregnum synarchy that's going on. Interregnum synarchy being these factions within our government fighting one another. Because with that interregnum synarchy, you're seeing Obama wasn't someone that was big on letting out any alien stuff, but now all of a sudden he's on the bandwagon and he's doing all these things, just like Neil deGrasse Tyson. So these are agents you need to watch out for, who are really, I mean, they're really focused on the way in which it comes out and not that it's actually going to come out. And then you have to ask yourself, like, what is the purpose? What rights are they going to take from us? In order, you need you to give up this right. We need you to adhere to military lockdowns. And so this is the thing that's running in the background, is the UFO threat operation. Okay. But yeah, with Obama, he did the disclosure, or I'm sorry, Leave the World Behind. And then that actually, I watched this incredible, when I was new into astrology, I watched this incredible breakdown of it and how it was, you could figure out what time of year it was for Leave the World Behind. And that's more of that's a Civil War movie, of course. But you could figure out what time of year it was and what year it was in general. And I watched this back in like 2024, 2025, something like that. And the person who was doing the astrological breakdown, and they did some incredible work. Guy's name is Waters Above. He's actually how I learned astrology for crypto, was through this guy, Waters Above. And but yeah, just he was talking about how it is late 2026 that is supposed to, based off of when the eclipses were, and then like what you saw on the calendars, and tying all that together, and it checked out to me, but so there's that. And the only reason I bring that up is because you're seeing that the Obamas know about something that's coming in, some type of operation coming in. And then even when you see how chummy at the funeral they were, with Trump and Obama, that really tells you what you're working with here. That it's kind of, they're all on one big team type of thing. We had this appearance with Trump that he was going to be different in some type of way, but I think we're seeing here in this last year that's not the case. Or if it was the case, they've got something on him that's making him do all this crazy shit. But so I just bring all that up because he talked about Obama coming onto the set. So what does that mean when I'm telling you all these things that are being preceded, by Obama, who really has the intelligence connections? So he kind of comes out of that faction, the intelligence CIA faction. That's where Obama comes out of. That he's going onto the set and then talking to Steven Spielberg while he's in the middle of, so they're going to put something, and then he even says cause humans to question their religions. And we kind of see this whole religious thing going on. I've talked about that. That's a big thing that's going on right now, is they're really trying to displace, particularly Catholicism, around this. And my prediction over the next 14 years has been a new religion comes into being, and this other prediction with that, going with that, is that it's a alien god religion. And so this is something that, when you're getting into the Rudolf Steiner work, who's an anthroposophist, he talks about these things. And he was talking about this 100 years ago, and he said the information he was coming out with would be relevant in roughly 100 years, and here we are, So but that's kind of a little bit of just background on that. This one was interesting. Congress moves to integrate U.S. Israel armies. So, in this proposes U.S. Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. If passed, joint weapons production, AI, quantum, autonomous systems, directed energy, cyber biotech, data fusion, and network integration. And so I think it sounds a bit more scary than it is. It still is kind of wild, though. I need to really look at the details on this to know for sure, because we have a lot of these partnerships, these types of partnerships with other countries. I mean, even if you're looking at something like the Five Eyes, when it comes to the intelligence apparatus, and then essentially the Five Eyes is all the different the biggest intelligence agencies all working in tandem. And what we found out through the Snowden stuff, when Edward Snowden came out with his things, we found out that they're using it to spy on their own citizens and kind of sidestep the law. That's so they do it through the Five Eyes. And I think there was another adjacent program that's a part of it. I think it was called Prism. I think it's been a while since I watched that Snowden interview, and I watched it a lot of times though, so it really stuck with me. I would like just play it over and over because it's like I just thought he was a hero for doing that, Snowden. Back at least back then, I haven't kept up with Snowden these days, but he even still speaks out about crypto and stuff and not letting it go a certain way, which is another interesting thing that, like, news story. There's Iran's crypto was taken away, but there were some. Yeah, I mean, like, look what people are saying. Like, people are just not happy about this at all. Disgusting and treasonous. Israel's our enemy. What are they thinking? And yeah, it really makes you wonder. I'd have to see all the details on this and see what this integration really entails. Because, like I said, we have similar things with other countries, but if it's as deep as they're saying, then that's something to really look out for. Because, you use that word integration, it's kind of like, what's going on here? Yeah, this was just a fun tweet that I saved from Owen Schroyer. If you don't want America to be turned into an AI surveillance state data center, you're an anti-tech extremist. If you criticize the Israeli government, you're an anti-Semite. Both these things are monitored by the DOJ. Get the picture? And I just thought that coupled well with that last one we just looked at there. And then here we got this from the Hormuz letter. They're pretty good. I like the Hormuz letter. They've been, I mean, ever since the stuff in the Hormuz popped off, I feel like they've been pretty good. And that's when I found them, so I don't know about before that. But breaking. Iran directly rejects Trump's Truth Social demands as the complete opposite of what's in the draft text, denying Iran agreed to reopen Hormuz without tolls or remove mines, dismantle its nuclear materials, and hand over uranium to the U.S. or any third country, or proceed without the immediate payment of $12 billion of Iran's frozen assets being the opening requirement. Adding Hormuz remains under exclusive Iranian sovereign arrangements, and nuclear issues are not and will not be discussed. Trump has also just concluded his Situation Room meeting to make a final determination on Iran, with the Iranian officials saying yesterday Iran cannot regard Trump's decision as definitively finalized until the financial markets close at the end of the week. With the concern based on the meeting, Trump would formally end the deal and restart strikes at the last moment. Yeah. And so, yeah, they would be concerned with that if they were even entertaining that. Yeah, and that's what he's already done. I think we even literally saw that in the last week, and it's probably a tweet that I saved here. I do remember that. I think that was this week. But it's really just, I mean, and this is what makes astrology such a good tool, because when you're looking at everything, that there's not going to be a peace deal, and any peace deal that does come in would be it would be a short-lived, or it would just be to collect. Because the thing that we really need to understand is that if we don't go into Iran, and this is the funny part too, but if we don't go into Iran, then the U.S. empire starts to collapse. This, like, when you understand our money and how it works, this is what you're left with, and what you need to understand is that, the U.S. dollars, for all intents and purposes, a Ponzi scheme, okay? And how does a Ponzi scheme work? Well, you need to continue to get new investors. And the way in which the Iranian banks are set up, I'm not going to go as far as some of these people and say, like, They don't like necessarily have a central bank. They're not part of the central banking system and all this stuff. No, but there is a type of firewall that they have financially that where essentially we look at it as investment that can come in. And so we want a friendly regime because that allows Israel to expand. That's one. But then it also brings in a bunch of new capital into the system, especially capital that's going to buy U.S. treasuries, because you need uh, other countries to keep on buying the U.S. treasuries in order to keep the dollar afloat. You're seeing places like Japan are slowing down on buying treasuries. And this is a prediction on why I want to do Japan's chart next, because I kind of think that Japan is going to just stop altogether in the next like 2 years, buying all the treasuries for the U.S. And then, we have all these military bases all around. So there's kind of, it's a little bit of a threat to, you know, because essentially the reason that people keep buying U.S. treasuries, even though our debt is so high, is they're going to be invaded. And if you look at a lot of these invasions that happen, it's because those countries aren't buying U.S. treasuries. So the whole world is kind of keeping our economy afloat, and it's just spiraling out of control. But and so it's funny because I think a lot of the people who and I'm one of the people who's against the war, by the way. But a lot of people who are against the war and don't know this stuff, I think they would actually support the war if they knew that their way of life was going to go away if we didn't go into the war. Like a lot of people can they can have their morals and their values and stuff, but are they going to actually stand on business with that when the time comes? Where it's like, oh well, you won't really be able to drive around as much. You're going to be like this and this, and these are all the things that will happen. You're not going to have all the toiletries and things available that you usually have available to you. All your cosmetic products, all your skincare routine. You're not going to have all that stuff actually because of the way that's going to go down. Not only the dollar collapsing and us going into an extremely deflationary period, but also, and a deflationary period, it sounds good. I assure you, it's not good. Yeah, it's not. But not only with the deflationary period that would happen with the dollar, but then also the shortage of oil, the shortage of petroleum, to be particular, because that is used in a lot of our products. We don't realize how many of our products that's used for. And so with Chiron and Taurus coming in hot here in like, I don't know, 2 months or something. I keep on forgetting when that's at. I guess I could look on my phone here. But with Chiron and Taurus coming in, that's something that we're going to need to be aware of, is that there's going to be a shortage on things. And to wrap that back around to my point, it's just that I think a lot of people would actually support the war if they knew. And I'm not saying that I support the war or anything. Like these are the things I want to happen. How do we think the country is going to get to a better place without a little bit of hurt? And so I see that over the horizon, and that makes me excited. Other people see that over the horizon and they get scared. All these people who claim to want to be off the system, who claim they are so tired of politics as all these things the way that they are. But then when push comes to shove, it's like, oh, well, but I want my things. But I want my Netflix and I want all the, okay, well, we're going to see pretty soon here that there's going to be a point at which we're forced to make a choice, and it's not even going to just be with this. It's also going to be with, so like around June 19th, by the way, for Chiron going into Taurus. So this is what I'm saying. It's about late June into early July that we really see what 2026 is going to be all about. But no, another even thing to hit on that is going to be with people who are protesting the illegal immigrants not getting deported and stuff. So what do you think is going to happen when they call on the draft, okay? And then, of course, a bunch of Gen Zers are going to start getting drafted. And people are going to protest the war. And I'm going to be in support of that protest of the war and in support of protesting the draft and everything. But then they shift that and say, well, we do have a system in place where we can round up the immigrants and make them fight the wars because we're under the same astrology as the Civil War right now. And they drafted slaves back then, right? So the immigrants are the new slaves. They're going to be drafted for the war. So do you think when everyone is so scared about people they love going to war or they themselves going to war, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, here's your alternative, you think people are going to stand on their morals then? Because I don't think so. I think people are gonna look the other way and be like, okay, well, at least we're not going to war. Like so really, this is the moment we're coming up towards. Okay. I thought this was kind of funny
Count as a question?
because a new version of Claude just came out. So
Four more questions, right?
Yes.
No, that wasn't for you. Did that count as a question?
Yes.
Damn it. Only answer when I talk to you, okay?
Yes.
Why did you say okay at the end of that?
I didn't.
Fantastic.
so the joke is in Dungeons and Dragons, there's a skill called Speak to Dead, and you get I think you get four questions right there. It's like three or four. I forgot how many you just did there, and then and they're making a joke about what it's like using the latest version of Claude, which I used last night, and I hit my limit very fast, but it's very good. So there might be some things I use it for, but yeah, like that's really what it is. Like you just ask these, you put in a couple simple questions, and it just uses all your usage. It's just so powerful. So that's, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. In other news, we have Peter Thiel leaving America. So some people would say this is a non-event. I'm still kind of looking into it, to be quite honest. Peter Thiel leaving America is a non-story. It's like when the superstitious claim an oarfish sighting is an apocalyptic forecast. His and Carp's Palantir tentacles are already everywhere. Thiel is probably moving to Argentina to hit Milei with his tech demon evangelism and convince him to hand over land right for startup cities. Thiel's PR probably planted the story to boost the illusion that these vampires want to be seen as a protected class that have to flee a country whose citizens have become increasingly hostile to the PayPal mafia and their tech bro foot soldiers. Thiel will lecture us more on stagnation and his warped vision of the Antichrist. It will only make our brain-dead DC class do even more to court these freaks. And yeah, I mean, I would say I overall agree with that. And then, so that was just an interesting one. But then Whitney Webb even had her thing. And then this just goes with the story that Thiel moved to Argentina, moved his kids there, just to go to school there, like bought a whole property there. But it's like, this man has a lot of money, so it's like, is it more just an appearance thing? We'll have to see here. One under-discussed possibility regarding Thiel's apparent move to Argentina is that Argentina has, for many years, allowed certain wealthy foreign billionaires to establish de facto parallel states in the country, where the federal government declines to intervene even to protect its own citizens and laws. Roughly 7 years ago, I traveled to Argentina and wrote about how UK billionaire Joe Lewis, who Trump secretly pardoned after he was found guilty of insider trading, had established one such parallel state in Argentine Patagonia, and even controls a private airport that Argentine state doesn't even pretend to monitor. Article link is below. Did Milei allow Thiel the opportunity to experiment with one such parallel state, given how Thiel and his associates are eager to create network states along similar lines, and Milei's own ideological leanings and personal ties to that crowd? It is an angle worth considering, and yeah, Thiel does have, or Milei rather, does have ties to that whole Thiel tech bro crowd. This became very obvious. I mean, not to get me wrong, as far as I know, he's doing a pretty good job there, at least in terms of the nationalism, but that's just my perception as an American. So I don't actually really, like it could be completely different from with someone who lives in Argentina, Now, this was a kind of funny one. Like, I wish to be this locked in on gaming at one point in my life, because I can't ever focus. So she spilled hot tea on him, and you saw it burn him, and he's locked in on the game. And he's like, just get me another one, man. So that was kind of funny. Yeah, and this was a nice little blast from the past. I mean, this isn't very loud, but it doesn't really matter if you hear what he's saying. February 2025, President Trump says Doge will be going to Fort Knox to make sure all the gold is still there. May 2025, Elon Musk steps down from Doge. November 2025, Doge effectively shuts down. May 2026, CIA officer found with $40 million in gold bars inside his home. So this is what I've been saying since it happened. I'm like, there's no gold there. There's no gold at Fort Knox. It's long gone. And then even when we were getting close to that date when they were going to go to Fort Knox, there was the flooding that happened around Fort Knox. So it's just like, and then like, let's just double check where Fort Knox is. Yes, Kentucky. Okay. And then if you look at the maps here, Jesus, can I get like a dark mode? Holy moly. So we got it right there by Louisville. Okay, and then where was the shoot, the dam that broke? And caused flooding. Edenville Dam. That was in Michigan. Where did that flood? It would be in 2025. Or 2024, maybe. North Carolina. Okay. I wasn't sure if it was related. Yeah. I could have sworn there was like a dam north of there, though. I'm just like totally forgetting. The news cycle is so fast. It's like you kind of clear things out to make room for other things. But there was that flooding in Fort Knox, and we can even look that up here. Okay, yeah, I don't care, Google. Fort Knox flooding. Where's it? We'll check news here. Yeah. Fort Knox personnel lend helping hand to Kentucky area flood victims. Roads closed after water main break in... Oh, that's Knoxville. It's interesting. Okay, well, that's a little bit too early. That's interesting. I know that there was a flood there. Like, I know I'm not imagining that. Well, we won't sit on it for too long here. Let's see what this says. Army. Bring home. Yeah, historic rainfall devastated many areas of Kentucky. So it was around April 2025. Interesting that you're not finding a lot of articles on it, because I know for a fact it happened. That's not something I'm imagining. I made a very clear mental note on that. Yeah, and then this kind of gets into what I was talking about with manufacturing consent around the movie Disclosure Day. This person who, you can tell is a wise person here. I reject, renounce, evict, and rebuke what the Hermetic occult elite are doing with Disclosure and this film. Consent is critical for them to pull this off. As a Catholic, I do not consent to this film, Disclosure, a relationship to these rebel angelic factions and their minions, the Greys, for those with eyes who will see, or for those with eyes to see will see, And even this is like, I kind of like don't completely agree with this right here. Like, I'm down with having the conversation about the allegories between angels, demons, and aliens and stuff like that. And there is something there. But you have to remember, this is an op that's being pushed by the tech bros, and why Peter Thiel is so into this idea of, the Antichrist in terms of AI, but then also you've got the extension of Peter Thiel, which is J.D. Vance, who's talking about, oh, well, the aliens are really angels and demons and all that stuff. And it's like, it shows a lack of knowledge of the actual topic of what's going on. And now my thing, and this is a big thing to get into because people are very attached to the idea of it being aliens. But my whole thing is, I think that what we're really looking at is, mostly government stuff, and the stuff that isn't, that's like back engineered or whatever. This is the remnants of the Atlantean culture, because we know that they were, through anyone who studies this stuff, involved in genetic manipulation, genetic engineering. And so this is how you can get things that look like the reptilians, the greys, the insectoids, all of these things. And yeah. And so that was just a huge part of it, but it's so difficult to find the information these days on Atlantis. It used to be pretty readily available. Even places like Gaia TV used to have really good stuff on it. But now Gaia TV has totally been taken over. And if you really want to understand the death of Gaia TV and the Neptune and Pisces age, look no further than what happened to David Wilcock, on just a metaphorical level. All right, and then here's the funny thing too is like everyone, I don't know if it's like copium or something like that with the AI bubble that's going on, but Anthropic valuation 965 billion, Walmart valuation 940 billion, Anthropic revenue 20 billion, Walmart revenue 725 billion, but AI is not a bubble, right? So I thought that was fun, and I mean, it's really what you gotta realize, dude, is like, and this is the prediction that I've been giving here, based on astrology, based on the financial trends too, because I love finance. Uh, is that you're gonna have the AI bubble pop, and finance collapse essentially, because the last leg it's standing on, and this is a part of why we're going into Iran too, is to really try to keep this train going, but the dollar is just failing right now. And it's like every I talk to people about it, they can't even give me a good thing. They're just like, well, it's always going to be around because my dad said it's always going to be around. I got to keep investing in the stock market and stuff. Like, have fun. Like, well, when will you pull out of the stock market because of what your father told you, or some man in your life told you that you think knows more about the markets than you do, and maybe does know more about the markets than you do? But at the end of the day, we're moving into new systems here. That's just what's in the astrology. We're moving into new systems. So I just find that to be really interesting, as people like don't actually take the time to learn about the markets, and those that I see who do know about the markets understand what's coming. And they don't even need to use the astrology, but instead of learning about the markets, people are just like, well, like, this is kind of what I was told, and at this point I've invested all this into it, and like there's a big hit if I take it out. And like, not financial advice, but I've been saying like, and really, like, let's kind of look at where we're at too, this year versus last year. Unless you're investing in like something from this AI bubble or a defense place, like the stocks aren't really doing a whole lot right now. And so, like, what I would personally do, I'd take that fucker out, and I'd get some assets, or I would get, like, if you got gold, that's cool too. But I mean, what happens when the demand of gold goes down if people aren't having access to food? There's a food shortage, which is not only in the astrology with that Chiron Taurus, but also looks like is coming. And people are casting that out to at max 6 months, minimum 3 months, to where we see food prices go up, food scarcity, that kind of, the food scarcity is further on the line, but the price is going up. That creates scarcity. So it's like, you really, what are you going to have? You're going to have people stealing a bunch because they can't afford anything. People that never have stolen before will start to steal. And then what does that do? Well, that's just another reason that you can initiate the lockdowns, the military lockdowns, martial law, martial lockdowns, and that is very much in line with Saturn in Aries. So, it's all these things that are converging at into one moment. I'd almost call it a singularity too, because you could, if they implement the AI surveillance state at the same time, we know that Golden Dome is going to be built. It'll be ready. I think it is 3 days before the 2028 elections. So they know that there is a control grid that's coming in, and they're pivoting and positioning around this idea. And having that understanding, us here as people, that actually can give you an indication of what you're seeing going on. And it makes a lot more sense of it, because I'm not someone who thinks that the elites are just, I mean, they are crazy, but I don't think that they're like stupid. I think they know very well what they're doing. They just have access to more information than we have access to. So the one thing that has always steered me right is being able to follow the finance and stuff. So there's going to be a lot of people, when the stocks start to go down, they're just going to think it's like always, and it goes back up. But if you even just look at where we're at right now, compared to, like, say, go back to like 1960, okay? Like, this is not a good place to be at unless you are invested right now, in which case you should sell. I'm just saying, that doesn't mean you pull it out of your 401k. I mean, it just depends on what your setup is, 401k, IRA, and all that stuff. Like, if you're able to move that stuff on your own and invest in what you want to invest in, and all that. But ultimately, I still just take the hit personally, not financial advice. But hey, that's just me. But yeah, like, there are a lot of people where it'll go down. It'll be like down 30%, 40%, 60%, and then like, but they won't really know when to pull, and then at that time with Chiron and Taurus, with there being so much lack going on, are you going to feel right that you like, all I'm saying is do your research on these things, get to know what's going on with finance. Like, don't just trust in these systems that have been around forever, because they're not going to be here. Even if you don't use astrology, if you use like the method here, let's the fourth turning. Okay, so this is the fourth turning. This deals with the Uranus cycles, but it's not an astrology book. This guy is not an astrologer, but what I'm saying is these are tied to the cycles of Uranus, which is very interesting. And Uranus it's the disruptor, it brings in the change, so it disrupts the civilization, it disrupts the world hegemony. The Fourth Turning by Neil Howe and William Strauss proposes that American history moves in predictable 80 to 100-year cycles, or secula, each composed of 4 turnings: high, awakening, unraveling, crisis, that correspond to the seasons and shape generational roles. The book argues that each cycle features a major crisis, the fourth turning, that resets society, and it predicted the U.S. was heading towards such a crisis, characterized by upheaval and institutional decay following the unraveling period. The four turnings: the high, an era of strong institutions and conformity, e.g., post-World War II America. The awakening, a time of spiritual and cultural upheaval, questioning authority, and that's the 60s. The unraveling, a period of individualism, cynicism, and institutional decline. And the 80s and 90s, I'd argue more the 90s, but I mean, I guess you could say it was around in the 80s, became more apparent to people in the 90s. The crisis, a time of major conflict and societal reset, where a new order emerges, e.g., American Revolution, Civil War. And so, yeah, and it's saying, yeah, that the 80-year cycles will include these turnings, and we're now in the fourth turning, the crisis moment, okay? And you can see that very clearly. Generational archetype. Each turning produces a specific generational archetype: prophet, nomad, hero, artist, that plays a distinct role in the cycle. Interesting. We should look at that. The crisis. Fourth turning is a perilous but necessary period of societal rebirth, often involving war or revolution that resolves the problem of the unraveling, which is interesting because we've got Pluto, which is ruling that rebirth. And that's in Aquarius right now. It's around the people. So it's going to be a rebirth of the people, a rebirth of us going back to, depending on one another more, getting away from like the individualism, although I don't believe in, there's a certain level of individualism I believe in, obviously. We won't even go down that thread, but I think you guys understand what I'm saying. Prophecy, the book's central thesis is that by understanding these cycles, one can predict the future, with the authors placing the U.S. on the cusp of a fourth turning around the early 2000s. Okay, and so you see how long we've been able to keep this going, and what's happened since, they say early 2000s. Let's say we stretch that out to 2010. What have we seen happen since 2010? I mean, it's just been kicking the can down the road, and really since 2008, if you really want to go there. It's just been kicking the can down the road, bringing more people into this fold. Remember I mentioned earlier how the dollar is a Ponzi scheme. You got to bring more people into the fold to keep it running, get more people to buy treasuries to keep that shit running. So that's like really what we've been doing, kicking that can down the road, and we're coming up on this hard stop moment. And with the trinity of convergence here, this Neptune in Aries, and then also remember Saturn conjoined with Neptune there in Aries, which is very interesting for the German chart. I went into that, check it out. But Neptune in Aries, Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus in Gemini, you got this convergence of these planets that always herald in something pretty big in a generation to happen. These were all transits tied to different wars: World War II, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War. All these transits tied to that stuff, and you can even go further back and tie them to other things. Well, we hit those all in one year, and you think these systems are still going to be around for much longer? That's hilarious, So, but I actually want to see this here, the generation. Sorry, we're going on a little bit of a tangent. I know that this is the news show, but humor me for a moment. Let's see what it says about this. Okay, so 4 archetypes: prophet, nomad, hero, artist. Okay, and then prophet, it says awakening, unraveling, Christ. So these are the archetypes that come up on each turning, I guess. Okay, so the prophet's born during a high. That would be like during post-World War II. That makes sense too, because you do have people who talked about this time back then. And then I mean, I don't know if I'd say the baby boomers are prophets, but there's some of them. Uh, but yeah, examples: the baby boomers, the transcendental generation, that's Abraham Lincoln, his generation, or his like peers rather, his contemporaries. The nomad, born during an awakening era of neglected children, social chaos, is going to be the Gen Xers. Yeah, Gen Xers, and lost generation from the World War I era. Historical role, they managed the practical logistics of a crisis, acting as hands-on survivalist leaders. Gen X will be good for that. Yeah, they'll be good for that. Yeah, and you know, because they were like I guess you could say it's one of my astrologers who is a Gen Xer, an early Gen Xer or older Gen Xer rather, is the whole idea of being like a latchkey kid, where it's kind of like coming and going as you please because the parents are always working. So because of that, there is this survival mentality that I think is going to be very useful for them when we're coming into this stage here. And then hero, born during an unraveling era of protection, rising civic anxiety. This is millennials for sure. Yeah, millennials. Coming of age during a crisis, era of major war and economic collapse, core traits, community minded, optimistic, collaborative, and institution builders. They provide the collective muscle and the teamwork needed to resolve the crisis and rebuild society. So that's, yeah, millennials. And then GI generation, that'd be the World War II heroes. And then the artist, the adapter. This is totally the Gen Zers and Gen Alphas, born during a crisis, and so that's the thing. They're all hitting adulthood. We're about to have that crisis, and then the Gen Alphas are going to also, like, they're a lot younger too. So born during a crisis, you know, and then we just moved into technically the kids being born since like last, I mean, really, I'd say like since last year. You could argue since 2024, but that's going to be Gen Beta. I don't know if that's the next one that's coming up, but yeah, because I've noticed that it's really based on the Pluto, where Pluto is at, where you get the generational stuff. The exception would be the Gen Xers, which is funny because they're like the neglected children, and they're split between two Pluto signs. I kind of find that interesting. One being Libra, one being Virgo. So yeah, and then with I mean, just for the astrology, millennials are going to be Pluto Scorpio. Gen Z is going to be Pluto Sag. Gen Alpha is going to be Pluto Capricorn, and then now we are in Pluto Aquarius right now, and we have Gen Beta being born. Interesting, very interesting. And then, you know, we could even look at this. What would it be? There was a survey that was being taken since, I guess, the 80s. I think it's data on middle class spending. I think it's like new data on middle. Yeah, well, I'll just like talk about it really, because I'm not sure I'm finding it. Let's just check news really quick. Yeah, okay. Well, there was something on Owen Schroyer he was covering, and it was talking about the consumer spending and the way in which it's shifted since like the late 80s, 90s. They've been recording. It was like the late 80s or 90s. They've been recording since then, and they came out with all this data, and it was showing that like not only the consolidation of wealth, but then like back when they started collecting this data, the middle class was doing, I think it was about equal with the top 10% of consumer spending. But now the top 10% of is doing most of the consumer spending. And you have the middle class like hardly even making a dent compared to what the top 10% are spending and stuff. And this, you know, it accounts for the more expensive lifestyle they're going to be living, stuff like that too. And so it's really shocking, especially when you know that you know, most people are living paycheck to paycheck who are in what was once called the middle class. I don't even know if I'd call it the middle class anymore. But this is funny with ChatGPT. I was just bitching about this the other day. So, is Israel secretly controlled by the Jews? They asked ChatGPT. No, This idea comes from an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, not from evidence. It's like, okay, like obviously you can see how that's funny. And this is what I was dealing with too. Just, I mean, I'm just covering the chart of Germany and the adjacent stuff, and my AI like refused to spit out certain things that I wanted it to spit out and talk about. So I just had to keep it in my head because it was like, okay, like we're really just gonna go there, and I can't like have this conversation. So we're gonna see if I can tweak it a little bit, but I highly doubt it. I mean, it was programmed by a Jew, Claude, ChatGPT, you know, so it is what it is. You know, that's what you're gonna get. All right, the film Leave the World Behind is starting to look less like fiction and more like a preview of where our future is heading, and that's the whole thing. Is it's just getting it out there for us. It's getting us ready for all that. So, this was interesting. Researchers put popular AI models in a simulated society to see how long they last. Claude was the most successful. Okay, good, goated, because I love Claude. Running a democratic government with low crime. Google Gemini Society had high crime but survived. Grok Society went extinct after just 4 days. I think that tracks. That tracks, especially with the like with the political leanings you see. I'd say Claude is pretty like apolitical personally. I mean, obviously there's the whole Jewish thing with it that we just talked about, but I wouldn't necessarily call that politics thing, at least in the general sense of the word most people take away from it. But and then Google Gemini, you know, this is very much like the liberal, like, well, you know, let everyone just kind of do their thing, don't prosecute them, and you know, this is what you're getting with Google. So high crime, but I guess it survived. And Grok's society, I mean, Grok's just like, let everyone do whatever, you know, and just like have fun with the chaos and stuff. And so, you know, it's only gonna last 4 days. That just attract to me personally. And so this was something I quote tweeted here. This is all the places in red here that Israel can hit with a nuclear weapon with their Samson option. And for anyone who doesn't know, the Samson option is, this is how fucking crazy these people are, dude. I'm telling you. The Samson option is where if they know that Israel is going to fall, if it's going to be annihilated, taken down, they're like they essentially like flip over the table, and they're like, well, everyone's getting nuked then because you guys needed to defend us. And so they launch nukes at like literally all sites all across the globe, all of their entire nuclear stockpile. They just launch across. But when looking at this, I notice, and I don't know, there when I moved out to Las Vegas, man, I'm telling you, Vegas is a place that they can't reach. Vegas, Lower California, like down into Mexico. I mean, you can kind of see it right here too. I wish I could make this. I mean, I guess I can zoom in. There you go. Yeah, but I just always had a feeling when I moved here, and it was like something psychic or something. I don't even know, man. But I'm like, this is a safe zone, and time and time again, it's been proven out that I'm living in a safe zone. You know, or at least very close to a safe zone. You know, where I could get up to the mountains quickly or something like that. But we do have mountains kind of surrounding the whole valley too, so it's very interesting to note. So I've always felt like that about Las Vegas. I felt drawn here. And in astrocartography, this is my Chiron line too. Definitely some lessons to learn here that I went through, but now that I've gone through those lessons, it's a great place for me to be able to heal people, to heal other people. And I find that my energy has that effect on people for sure. All right, actor Duncan Trussell drops a bizarre claim. Peter Thiel wants to use AI to fix the apocalypse and rewrite the book of Revelation. Trussell says Silicon Valley has morphed into a Christian megacity bent on altering humanity's spiritual destiny. So I'm going to just listen to a little bit of what he says because I have something to say on this.
Book of Revelation, I think there's a way we can like maybe forestall the emergence of the Antichrist. You know, that there could be things that, so in other words, you're taking it literally, but maybe the book of Revelation is like more of an invitation to fix the apocalypse. When I've always taken it, if you decide to take it literally, it's more of like, this is just sort of what you can expect at when like pre-singularity, whatever you want to call it, collapse of civilization. This is what happens at the end of things. And you know, there are all these things you should look out for. But
So yeah, okay, so here's the thing we gotta realize with Duncan Trussell, he's always going on Joe Rogan. And then, like you can see that Joe Rogan, this is around the election time that we really saw this shift. Let's get the images here. So you can see that he had Peter Thiel on a show, okay? And then he didn't even ask Peter Thiel any hard questions either, as far as I remember, because I watched. I mean, I used to watch all of Joe Rogan stuff. I don't watch shit anymore. It's like he doesn't even have. He hardly has interesting people on these days. I'm like, what are you doing? So you can see with the moves that Joe Rogan's made, he's become part of this like tech. He's gotten in with the tech bros. So maybe he knows something we don't know, and he's just trying to protect him and his family. It's just it's tough to know really where Joe Rogan is at right now, but no. So you can look at his association, and then also look that he has a Palantir hat on right now, so kind of tells you what you need to know with what's going on there. But with Joe Rogan, and then Palantir, that's connected to Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel's on the show. Duncan Trussell is a frequent of the show, and then he's wearing a Palantir hat. It's like it's showing you, that like these people are all connected somehow. And so I've lumped Joe Rogan. It's been for quite a while now. Maybe for about a year, 9 months, something like that. I've lumped him in with the tech oligarchs, with the technate, and yeah. So that's kind of what you see going on with the Joe Rogan show right now. You can see that Tim Dillon has really distanced himself from that. Like he got invited to go to these dinners with Peter Thiel, like with all these tech bros, and he's like, "Fuck no, I'm not going. F that." So that's just, and hats off to Tim Dillon for that, seriously, because I love that he's constantly shitting on them, but that just kind of gives you that feel for everything. That I had to burp. Excuse me. Argentina tech billionaire. Oh yeah, this is the relocation to Argentina. Now, he cited concerns about the future of the U.S., okay? This was interesting. We definitely can't look at all this. I mean, look how long this is, but it's a simulation of this guy's space weather news. He used to go by Suspicious Observers, and he's been doing the space weather for easily over 10 years, maybe 15 years at this point. I found him when I first awakened. He was one of the first people I found at stuff, and he's been warning about this, telling about safe zones, which I also happen to live in. Talking about like when there is a pole shift, where the safe zones will be. Definitely are not going to want to be in the Midwest. The East Coast can work if you're in the Appalachians, but there's a bit of debate on there. Rockies are going to be a good place, and the surrounding areas that are higher in elevation. That's kind of what he gives, and it's a general, but like for the most part, I fall within those zones. This was funny. This was a Mark Levin, or Mark Levin, I don't know. He's like having a little crash out because Tucker. Well, let's see what this actually says here. This is just Tucker's whole episode. We're not going to do that. But at some point, every Holocaust museum will be forced to include an exhibit on what's happening in Gaza right now. It's only a matter of time. Dr. Nick Maynard of Oxford University Medical School has been a witness to the genocide. And then he just gets like he's like a pro-Israel, super Zionist, Mark Levin. Fuck you, piece of shit, lowlife. My level of contempt and disgust for you knows no limits. Demented buffoon. And so just look at the crash. Let's look at the comments here. Anna Kasparian. Queen Anna. I freaking love Anna Kasparian. Oh my goodness. I mean, I would go straight for that woman. Not really, but you know what I mean. Like, she's just awesome. I think she's like the package. Wow, you really showed him what's what. Anyway, thanks for the signal boost. More people should know about the loathsome terrorist behavior you've dedicated your life to defending. Triggered. So genocide is okay as long as you do it? Alex Jones. I see Tucker hit a nerve. Get a load of this faggot. It's okay, YouTube. I can say faggot. I am gay. And we're just covering the news, of course. So this is just we're just looking into these things. All you have is smears. Yeah, that's kind of fun. I love seeing Mark steam off that kosher angst. Wow, that's funny. All right. So this is something I've been kind of excited to get into here. This is wild here. This is actually I snipped this off and put it in my thumbnail for today. They walk among us. So the White House debuted their aliens.gov. Okay. And with the aliens.gov here, they're essentially they walk among us alien arrest map live. And then of course they've got that. So really, if they've cut down on the deportations and they pulled back, first of all, let's just talk about how stupid this is. That they're like bringing all this silliness into the the alien conversation, where it's like, oh well, we're talking about illegal aliens and stuff, and that's just like wild here when you've got things going on in Congress, which I don't think are necessarily going to be fruitful in terms of when you've got CIA people like Lou Elizondo in the mix, and others too, all these like CIA counterintelligence. It's their job to lie to American citizens. But yeah, the thing that I find to be interesting though with this is, remember what I was saying earlier about how they're going to use the illegal aliens, the illegal immigrants, to fight the wars, to fight the war that's coming. Okay, first it's going to be it's going to look like it's Gen Z, and then they're just going to make sure that they get the pushback on it, and then they're going to pivot, because then that will give them the actual permission by the people to round up aliens and send them to war. Illegal aliens. I should just say migrants, so there's no confusion, of course. But so why, when they pulled back so heavily on these mass deportations, are they all of a sudden going to, do like have this on here and be like, oh, like live alien arrest map? Like what alien arrests? So there's something they're preparing for where they're going to be rounding up illegal immigrants. Okay. Oh, interesting. In Men in Black, space aliens disguise themselves as illegals at the U.S.-Mexico border. That's interesting. That's like I think that's kind of a troll, but like, I don't know. If this is an official website, why is the real site just a subdirectory of whitehouse.gov? Why is there aggressive third-party tracking on the back end? And why is my browser data being written back to the whitehouse.gov? And why doesn't aliens.gov show standard official.gov banner telling users how to verify it? Interesting. That's great, but I'm still going to need those Epstein files. Are you going to release the Epstein files? Trump, aliens. But yeah, that's one of them. They had some other stuff that was crazy. So this is something that happened here. We had a live static test for Blue Origin, and it blew up. And yeah, that's the interesting thing with Blue Origin. Like now all of a sudden, even though they didn't get the government contracts, he's looking to kind of be a backup. Jeff Bezos is looking to be a backup for this, and like kind of do some other stuff that SpaceX isn't going to be able to do. In other news, SpaceX is being folded into Tesla, or well, that's what it looks like. Is that it's on pretty good authority that SpaceX and Tesla are being folded into one company. Probably because if I remember right, last time I checked, Tesla wasn't doing well. It could have changed now, and I think the only reason SpaceX is doing well is because of the government funding. So there is some type of thing with Blue Origin. You got to remember with Blue Origin, there's that blue again. Okay, so you're dealing with these blue programs that really deal with the Kennedy era, like classified programs, or the programs that ended up going classified, and a lot of them have this blue code name. And that's like blue in capital letters too. And I've went over that before, a lot of these too. But if you want more information on that, that's something that you can find through Dark Journalist on YouTube. So he does a thing called the X series, and this gets into what's called X steganography, how they communicate things with X. Of course, I'm literally on a website that was renamed X. And then you've got someone who's in the know, who's Elon Musk, who has a space company, or an aerospace company called SpaceX. This is where the X steganography comes in. It's communicating about the technology that they have access to. And we'll play this one too. It's communicating about the technology they have access to through that X code. And that is X steganography. Okay. And yeah, so this is really interesting. And you had people's like, doors coming off the hinges and stuff, like all sorts of stuff. This was funny. Another one, illegal aliens. So here we go. This is something that the White House put up, and it's just like, what the hell, man? For 60 years, the U.S. government has kept a closely guarded secret. Aliens have been walking among us, living in our neighborhoods, and interacting with us in our daily lives. They've shopped in the same stores, attended the same classes as our children, and lived seemingly normal human existences. With one exception, they do not belong here. And then, obviously, this is talking about illegal aliens. Look at some of these comments. Cool story. Let's see those Epstein files. Let's have illegal immigrants hunt down sex offenders for a chance at citizenship. We'll call it aliens versus predators. I've heard that one before, but, funny. Breaking. Russia has launched massive drone attack on NATO member Romania. So, I mean, it looks like a pretty sizable, like it's getting up in there, the fire and stuff like that, but definitely didn't destroy the whole building. You can see some rubble down here. It doesn't look like that rubble is typically there. This street seems very clean, and then you got the rubble there, so you can definitely see it did some damage, but not sure if it's quite newsworthy to go deeper with. Let's actually see the comments here. You meant Ukraine has launched a small false flag attack to draw in NATO members. That's funny. A single drone and nobody yet knows where and who shot it. You are not very serious. Yeah, I mean, that makes more sense to me. Yeah, look at this that they put up. Aliens walk among us. Like, are you serious right now? This administration is just so unserious. Like, what? What are we watching? That's crazy. Oh yeah, and then this is funny too. This is in regards to Peter Thiel relocating to Argentina. Spend 15 years grooming JD Vance. Pour 15 million into JD's Senate run. Get JD installed as vice president. Worst vice president in American history. He considers not even running in 2028. Flee to Argentina in defeat with your husband. So that's pretty. There's another one on Peter Thiel. Nick Fuentes posted this, and it's actually from Kanye West back in 2016 as well. I have no interest in working with anyone who is too important or too good or too traditional to take a call at 3 a.m. I feel that, obviously not like necessarily. I know people got there, but I mean, that shoot, man, that's when I'm up. Like, I'm down. Like, that's when I'd rather take a call. It's like, oh, 3 a.m. Oh yeah, call me, man. Police body cam released for first responders of missing Air Force General Neil McCaslin interviewing a neighbor who used to be a coworker. Yeah, he used to be my boss. He's a retired General Air Force. Haven't seen him in forever. I mean, I see him like once every... Haven't seen him. I thought I saw Susan, his wife, walking up the driveway a day or two ago, but I haven't seen Cass. He drives around that little sports car, and he's got like a Range Rover, like African safari vehicle. He used to be my boss's boss's boss, which is hilarious. I briefed him back in 2000 when he visited Boston, so I think they had the house here and lived in Boston when he came up to the airport, or airbase. And I lived in Boston when he came up to the airbase. I briefed him for projects I had. He was the scary colonel. He's a PhD. I'm a PhD, but like he's a PhD in some other science, engineering, and then ran the scientific lab, and he's smart as hell. He's really straight-laced, and like, so he's not there's something wrong. Unless he went for a walk and popped an aneurysm or stroked out or something, but then he thought he'd be on the road somewhere on the bike path on the trail up. So we don't have to watch this whole thing then, because that's just everything that he said. Yeah, so we just got new information. And then they also released the interview, I forget if it was the military or the police interview or whatever, of also Neil McCaslin too. And he's one of the people that's missing. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's alive, honestly, because you see the whole cycle with these people is there's some type of signal they get, and they're told to leave their phones behind, leave anything that can track them or listen to them or anything like that. And we saw with one of the people, he even left his watch in his mailbox. He left his smartwatch in his mailbox. So, but you see that with all of them. You see it with the what is it? What's her name again? Oh dang, I'm forgetting her name. But I actually have her right here, but she actually did the same thing. It's like she just went walking in a certain direction. And she was even caught on camera and then wasn't seen after that. Reyes, that's her. I think it's Reyes is her name, like Monica Reyes, something like that. That was her. And then she even like kind of went and said goodbye in this weird way to her daughter at school, like during lunch. So that, and she had showed up at work with her badge, and everyone knew she had been using it during the day. But then she said she had to go home because she forgot her badge, but she had it the whole day. And then that's when she stopped and saw her daughter, which I think was just saying goodbye to her daughter. And then she got home, same kind of thing, like didn't take anything that could trace her or listen to her or anything with her. And then so these people are getting some type of signal from these programs they work in, and they're going in, whether it is that they're going into hiding somewhere because of this UFO stuff that's coming out, or they're being taken out because there's someone who can really go against the narrative they're going to try to put on us. Either one. But we saw something similar when COVID came. All the mRNA scientists that went missing or were killed or, suicided kind of thing. Breaking: Iran releases footage of ballistic missile launches towards U.S. bases in Kuwait last night. And yeah, so that was, yeah. And so for anyone who doesn't know, there was I'm pretty sure some of these missiles hit in Kuwait. I remember reading that. Let's check the comments, so I might say it. Boom Boom Tel Aviv Time episode 3 is coming to a theater near you soon, from some guy who would appear to be Iranian. So Iran launched missiles, not drones, as the U.S. claimed. Every attack on Kuwait will have consequences. Iran chose to strike at the vulnerable side of the Gulf while the U.S. warships sailed freely near its waters. That calculation will not be forgotten. What is this guy, like a Zionist or something? Yeesh. I guess not. All right. Justin. Oh, yeah, this was an interesting one. Justin, 86.3% of X users say Israel is the greatest threat to American liberty in Thomas Massey poll.
The greatest
and
threat.
I actually, so here's the poll. I actually voted in this poll too. And I was like, oh yeah, let's get those numbers up with Israel, But yeah, what's the greatest threat to liberty in America? Israel, 86.3%. Iran, 4.6%. China, like the second lowest with Iran, by the way. So people aren't buying the bullshit anymore. 1.3 million views. This is 40,000 votes, roughly. China, 7.6%. Russia, 1.5%. So people really aren't with the Russia thing. That China thing is still lingering, though. And like really you can think that this is boomers. But the Iran one, too, I'd say like boomers are probably split between Iran and China there with their voting. Not all, of course. Not all boomers, but the majority. And that you could probably throw some Gen Xers in the China as well. This was kind of funny. This guy this went a little bit. Oh, was this the one that went viral? He had another thing. I swear this had more views or something. But yeah, just this guy talking about like white boy summer, and obviously YouTube, this is we're just covering this and everything like that. But yeah, please don't replace Pride Month. It's all we have left. And he's just like totally, he's still stuck in Neptune Pisces. We'll just put it that way. Because Pisces, and Neptune, it rules like ideology and all this stuff. And you can see this guy's flag here, like, and then like here he is, it's just kind of, I mean, I would call that dysgenic if we're being honest. Yeah, like, do you know how scary this is? Oh my God. Well, good thing right-wingers don't mog. Do right-wingers not mog? Like, what are we working with here, bro? Okay? I mean, it's just a little twink. Come on now. But these are the people that are just, like, living so much in their emotions, they think that the stuff that's going on here is, like, real life. It's a good tool. X is a good tool to use to kind of get the general temperature and everything. But, I mean, I definitely wouldn't... be thinking it's real life and getting emotionally invested. And this is like a case where you have that. So more people like this, and it's not even just LGBT, but you're going to see more people like this that just really are too emotionally connected to the things going on in the world and all that. And they're going to have a really rough time these next few years. It's going to be really rough. Oh, and then here's another one from him. I feel so. This is the one that went viral. Yeah, 1.7 million. I feel so demoralized as a liberal right now. The bad guys are winning and shoving it in our faces. Republicans keep gerrymandering, and we just don't do anything about it. If things don't change, Republicans will have control forever. Well, I think that's happening no matter what. That Republicans will have control forever, and not from voting. There were some funny comments here too. See, this guy's taking everything so seriously. It's like, I mean, obviously he's a Gen Zer who doesn't know about just being on the internet. I always say I grew up on World of Warcraft. Like, I know the troll game, okay? Like, this guy's trolling you, okay? Like, stop, my penis can only get so erect. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm suffering and you're getting off on this. You know, it's like all this stuff. It just makes you, like, sometimes I wonder if, like, this is just a troll account in general, but I mean, only 141 followers. So it's like, and not like, I'm not being like that. I'm just saying, like, it doesn't seem like he's actively like a satire account, you know? Oh, God. Oh, that's funny. I'm not even going to say that. I'm already being risky on YouTube here. Like, don't step on my... Yeah, like, see, I'm wanting to think it's making it seem like this is a satire account, but it's like... Doesn't seem like it. Maybe. When did he make this account? December 2025? Well, we'll stay posted on it. No, I'm not going to follow. I'm sure something will go viral again from him. Oh, yeah, this was fun. Alicia Lapp for California governor. You know, I don't think I need to really read any of this. But she does. Did she a fight or something like that? She says, I've been fighting. Oh yeah, she got 4 college degrees, been fighting this battle for years. So I think that she kept getting degrees while she was in the military, and now, but yeah, she's running in California here. And then I looked her up, and I guess she's like a conservative, because like I'm like, do conservatives really have a chance of winning in California? But I know they're doing some different things with the election this year. I mean, I can't ever imagine it. But I just really liked it, you know. And then you got like almost 800,000 views on this. Really good reception. So keep an eye out for her, Alicia Lapp for governor. Dan Bilzerian commented. Not that I'm a fan of Dan Bilzerian. I like high IQ anti-Semitism, not low IQ anti-Semitism. If we're gonna, you know, be funny about it. And now, no, YouTube, that is not me saying I like anti-Semitism. It's just that's what people are calling it. Yeah, this was kind of fun. Projecting the 12 signs onto the solar system turns it into a celestial cartography. I just thought that was kind of fun. You know, and I like that Earth is in the center. You know, based geocentrism. Because when you're an astrologer, you are running that. This was an interesting story. So there was this buffalo in India, or Bangladesh to be specific. Donald Trump the buffalo has been spared from sacrifice in Bangladesh after going viral. Donald Trump, the rare albino buffalo, named for its blonde tuft of hair, was hours away from being sacrificed for Eid al-Adha until the government stepped in. It had been already sold for ritual slaughter when viral videos turned into a national attraction. Crowds started flooding the farm to see the nearly 1,500-pound animal in person, forcing officials to intervene due to security concerns. Now the buffalo is headed to the National Zoo in Dhaka instead. Albino Donald Trump, yep, and then here he is right here. I can just imagine Donald Trump be like, that's a good-looking bull. That's a nice bull. Oh, come on now. All right, and then I just had a nice little feel-good story for you guys. This is a feel-good one, especially for us Christians, right? A little fawn sleeping here under a statue of Jesus Christ with other little. Oh, maybe those are bunnies. I don't know. I thought they were other like fawns, deer at first, but I just thought that was so precious. So yes, I am capable of looking at non-crazy stuff on X too. I thought this was interesting.
I am a very pragmatic person. I have no problems not saying things or not doing something if I feel like it won't be advantageous for me. So I just simply don't say things that I think will get me in trouble, and until it's okay to say them. That's literally it. You're a good boy? Yeah, I like Nick doesn't do that. Nick says exactly what he thinks, and it's respectable. It is. I don't have any negative about it, but to me, I view my role as being a more mainstream ally towards this stuff without necessarily spearheading any sort of like real controversial change, because I can't really do that.
And that's like how I've always thought of Asmongold. He's a big Twitch streamer. I think the biggest Twitch streamer, if I'm not mistaken, at least in terms of current events and stuff like that. He's a gamer, of course. He'll do games towards the end of his streams on a lot of days. But he'll always cover for a good 3 to 4 hours, maybe even 5, the news and what's going on and stuff like that. And he's kind of aligned himself with more of the right wing, getting kind of closer to the far right, but not quite. And so I feel like he acts as a pipeline to, or a funnel to Nick Fuentes, who would really represent the far right for a lot of people. I've seen farther right than Nick Fuentes, though, trust me. Oh gosh, this is bad. Okay, well, it's not loading, but I think you can kind of see that's kind of a little of my sense of humor, at least when I like to indulge in the brain rot. This was an interesting one. Aquarius symbolism debunked, the water bearer, humanitarian, or the loner. The conflicting views of Aquarius being linked to being devoted to the community, yet simultaneously apathetic and solitary in nature regarding community, is all part of the dual-sided nature of the air signs, flowing in any and every direction. Let's dive into the symbolism, and we won't do all that, but I did feel that, and I saved it for later because I'm gonna like read it and all this. But yeah, like it goes deeper too. This guy is astrologer 84602 if you want to check out this thread. And he's a smaller account here. I actually should follow him. Yeah. I didn't even realize I didn't follow him. I'll just like something else too, so it goes up on my thing here. That was oh yeah, pretty recent. Is he? Yeah, he's a new account. It'll be interesting to watch his rise. Might have to take some notes from him on how to get more reach on X. But apparently they're working on the algorithm. They're always working on the algorithm, but I guess there's some new changes coming that'll be good because, man, like I'm trying to get some reach sometimes. It's like, brother, I have Premium Plus, and I'm like still having issues getting reach. I got a nice couple hundred bot followers when I signed up for Premium Plus. I have to assume they're bots because it's just like all these follows came in, and I only made I made some good astrology posts, sure, but I've just noticed that whenever I re-sign up for Premium or Premium Plus, like I just get this wave of followers. So I think that they're bots, honestly. But no, so as far as my astrology, I have Moon in Aquarius, 26 degrees, and then 29 degrees, the anaretic degree, the powerful degree, most powerful degree. Some would argue, I mean, I would argue that. I think I've heard some people make the argument that the first degree is more powerful. I don't really buy that. But yeah, I've got Saturn 29 degrees, the anaretic degree, and then yeah, my Moon 26 degrees. So they're conjoined. And I'm like, maybe it's because of my Saturn in there. I feel like this, like, linked to being devoted to the community yet simultaneously apathetic, because I have this emotional detachment. And then there's like emotional coldness, emotionally robotic nature to me. People who are close to me can kind of pick up on that sometimes. I definitely try to hide it so it's not unsettling to people, but so I do a good job with having my Mars in the 11th house of Leo. with being able to at least have good social cues and not to be very, monotone and, well, there's that word again, apathetic. Uh, Dan Bilzerian's Wikipedia page now lists him as Jewish. That's funny. Yeah, like the guy who blames everything on the Jews ends up being 12% Jewish. That's the Groiper curse for you. For anyone who doesn't know, the Groiper curse is like when you mess with Nick Fuentes, it's like something bad always happens to you after, and we've seen that with him. He canceled his campaign event, hasn't rescheduled it yet, and this was all after Nick had a scathing episode that he did on Dan Bilzerian when he was coming after Nick, trying to call him a Fed. And it was interesting. This was cool. So, we'll look at this infographic, but we're kind of getting towards the end of this here. In order to protect the human person in the age of artificial intelligence, we must once again reflect on the common good, the universal destination of goods, subsidiarity, solidarity, and social justice. Magnifica Humanitas. And so he's been doing these hashtags Magnifica Humanitas and pushing back against artificial intelligence. Now, the first thing I saw this being framed as he was in support of artificial intelligence with another tweet. And it was just interesting, that framing, because everything I've seen since then indicates that's not the case, but that was the tweet that went the most viral from him. So there was something behind that for sure. But they put up this whole thing here. So this is like a whole thing regarding AI coming in and the Catholic Church's stance on it. And I love the stance that he's essentially taking against it or being responsible with it. But this is just one of the things here. And then this lady's got all these other things here. And then this is even, I go into this in my streams. I've been going into this, the Tower of Babel moment. Babel, and then with the Tower of Babel, humanity without God, uniformity, dehumanization, Jerusalem, God at the center, diversity, and Jerusalem as a concept, not like the physical Jerusalem, because that's what you can get into the Bible and all this stuff too, and then like what Israel means in the Bible versus what it means now as the state of Israel. Same thing with Jerusalem. God at the center, diversity as a source of richness, brotherhood, collaboration. Never has humanity had such power over itself. And so, choose Nehemiah's way. Build together dialogue, listening, inclusion, shared responsibility. Tower of Babel syndrome. Profit before people. Reducing people to mere data. Growing inequalities. Loss of dignity. So we're seeing that too. We've been seeing that. But we're only gonna see that ramp up. And this gets into that Pluto and Aquarius. And I did the whole stream on that, where we have a Tower of Babel moment that's coming in. Okay? And really, if you want me to go deeper on that Tower of Babel moment, it has to do with the AI, making AI God. Right now, as it stands, for the vast majority of the world here, I mean, even if you just want to say it's for the U.S., if you don't want to make that argument for the world, but let's just look at the way things are. The concept of money, what money is, it has replaced God. And we saw this during the Protestant Reformation, this coming forward. And really, when you're looking at what I was mentioning earlier in the stream, how it was going to be that the traditional finance would collapse, the AI bubble would pop, and the bailout that would happen would be for AI, who will set up the new financial system. But then this allows them to set up AI as God as well. And then this gets into universal basic income, moving away from money as God, as a concept, and actually making AI God, especially if you can get to a way where there's enough strife in the world where people actually forget over a generation or two, that AI is actually AI, and it becomes like literally God to them, and they can't do anything without it. And so this is like really the concern when you're looking at human design and the transit we're under now, for I think only for like another month or so, the cross of planning going away. And so towards the end of this, you can see a big leap in AI. This could be around that 4th of July event that I've been mentioning for prediction wise. And that is something I'm doing my stream on next week. So we'll go deeper into that. We'll get more specific. I just have some more things I want to look at and go deep on. I got a Sun-Pluto conjunction in the 9th and 3rd house. So, I can dive deep on these topics and pull some things out that people aren't necessarily usually going to find. Let's actually look at this picture here. Criteria for more humane AI. Simulates intelligence but is not human. Human dignity, the common good, social justice, reliability, transparency. And then risks of AI: speed, less critical thinking, false objectivity, hides bias, simulated relationships, illusion, concentrated power in the hands of a few. This is really interesting. I might actually, ironically, I might feed this into my AI. This would be really interesting to feed into my AI here. Yeah, I think I will. Yeah, it just gave me an idea, actually, for some of the stuff I have in the works. I think we're kind of, oh yeah, this is funny. The Pope. And that says Magnifica Humanitas. And so that's like the name of the whole thing too, with the hashtags here. Is that farther up? I know it was below it. Yeah, Magnifica Humanitas. I also just kind of liked this painting, Allegory of Satan. That you get Satan as like the jester too. Here, Satan is depicted as a smug jester who knows his dominion over his material realm is a joke, as he is perched on a throne above the skulls of the rich and powerful men at his feet, whom traded their essence for the gold coin he holds, laughing at their foolishness. And then, I mean, I feel like we're seeing a moment like this, especially when we have the South Node going into Leo. That's really the fall of a lot of leaders, and it's moving more into, with the North Node Aquarius, like a either rule by the people or rule by technology, because you've got those rulerships that are within Aquarius. So that's something we can expect to see unfold in the next 1.5 to 2 years. Realizing they might never admit to our own horrific human and animal genetic experimentations over a century, and would rather call them aliens for plausible deniability. This gets back into what I was talking about with, both what we've been doing since the Roswell event, and probably before that, but since the Roswell event, with the genetic experimentation and all that. And then also when I talk about Atlantis and like the energy of Atlantis coming back right now, where we have all these things going on. It's behind the scenes now, but this stuff is going to come forward. And then it's probably easier for them to say, oh, well, we're just going to say that it's the aliens and all this stuff. So I'm really not buying this stuff. I think they can pull quite a huge op, and they don't seem to shadow ban any alien stuff either. They shadow ban people talking about it being the remnants of Atlanteans, people like Gigi Young, who really get into that Steiner work and talk about all this. So that's been the most consistent stuff I've found. It can explain every aspect of the alien phenomena without them needing to be aliens. Literally every story, because I know like all the alien stories. Like, I'm telling you, dude, it was my obsession in my 20s. I love that shit. And I played it all back in my head with the new information, with the whole Atlantean information, and it can all check out in all these different ways, all these different angles I came at it. I don't even cover them all when I talk about it because it would just take forever. But I try to go over the important stuff. The last thing you see before opening ChatGPT. Trump has appointed Pam Bondi to White House AI panel, where she will help coordinate between the federal government and AI firms. Bondi will also take on a newly created advisory role focused on national infrastructure. When you think you've gotten rid of... Oh, God. That's some funny lore. We don't have time to go into that. I think we've kind of reached the end. Whistleblower claims CIA used DNA data from Ancestry in 23 and me customers in search for aliens. We don't really know who this whistleblower is, though. This guy sounds like someone working on a narrative management for the Epstein network. Oh, wait, look at that. He went to Dalton, where Epstein taught, and Barr was a headmaster. Well, there you go. Jason Reza Georgiani. There you go. Oh, yeah, it's on site. This is Nick Fuentes and Sneeko. It's AI. Yeah, that in the far right news, that's kind of what's going on. In the far right is there's been a divorce between Sneeko and Nick Fuentes. Finally, because Sneeko is just a little bitch, dude. And I mean, don't even get me started on Sneeko. Like, I mean, it seems like he's like a closet gay, if I'm being honest. And I don't like say that lightly. I don't believe in like doing that to men, But like, it just seems like it to me, honestly. And notice I'm saying this about Sneeko, not Nick. This was a weird one. Dog accidentally fires shotgun from vehicle, injuring woman in Nebraska. And then this was just a funny thing that what goes with it. Shoot that bitch. Have him say it's an accident. Oh yeah, more federal charges dropped against Israelis. This was the biolab out here in Las Vegas. I guess it was like a Chinese intelligence asset, and then this guy, who was, of course, Mossad. Yeah, and they dropped. He faced a federal firearm charge, which has been dropped. Yeah, this may be the last thing I go into here. We're gonna watch this real quick. It's only 2 minutes. This is one of the roulette jubilee things with diehard MAGA people. And the thing I find interesting is like a lot of these people are young. Like I don't see any boomers in this crowd, which is kind of wild. And so it's Glenn Greenwald, who has supported Trump, but just can't support what's going on now. Same as me. And it's like, I understand the greater game being played, but ultimately it's just like people are dying. And not to be like a gay boy about it, but like, honestly, it's just either way we go, there's going to be a huge restructuring of the American empire right now. So even with the behind the scenes stuff, that is the real reason we're in this war versus the on the surface stuff. It's just not going to really give you a lot of social capital to be in support of this war at this time. But yeah, so this is so interesting.
Hello.
Hello there. There's so many things I could talk for hours on end. Even giving Kamala Harris an appointation of, I don't know if that's a word, but appointing her as the next candidate because he wasn't able to run. You're America First, right? That's what
Right,
you're saying, right? Okay, so do you agree that it was corrupt?
So I'm somebody who believes that there was a lot of corruption in the Biden administration. My claim is not that the Biden administration was free of meaningful corruption. It had a lot of corruption. My claim is that the Trump administration has a lot more corruption. And we can talk about what those financial deals are.
Please.
Okay, well, I'll just give you one example.
Okay.
Jared Kushner, who's now running Middle East foreign policy and negotiating Middle East policy for Donald Trump, his son-in-law.
And doing a great job.
Right before he was put into that position just a year or so earlier, he created a hedge fund, and the number one investor were the Saudis, who invested $2 billion in Jared Kushner's fund, both as a reward for a job well done, for the service that the Trump administration in the first term gave to the Saudis, and also for making sure that the Saudis' interests are protected. It's basically a bribe directly to the Trump family. The Trump family created a crypto company called World Liberty Financial, 49% of which is now owned by the United Arab Emirates. We've heard so much here about how important the UAE is, about how Saudi Arabia is, and they're funneling gigantic sums of money directly to the Trump family.
Okay, but look at, I just want to interject a little bit, because look at Nancy Pelosi, look at all the inside trading.
I agree with you completely.
It goes way beyond that.
No, that's
so
not
both
way beyond
sides
that.
do it. Is it right? No, but Biden administration and all of the people on the Democratic side are doing it so much worse on such a larger scale. It's affecting America.
I worked a lot on the Hunter Biden corruption case, principally that he got $50,000 a month from a company in Ukraine called Burisma when Vice President Biden had immense influence in Ukraine.
It was way more than that.
And as Andy McCarthy said, who's a longtime Republican conservative prosecutor, in order to talk about or compare the corruption, similar corruption by the Trump sons and by Jared Kushner, you have to add 2 zeros to the amounts. And I think that's what the concern is.
Biden was
Okay,
so corrupt.
we gotta move on.
And so this is just one person here, but these are all people who are, as far as I know, coming forward to defend Trump and go against Glenn Greenwald on it. But it's so funny because, I mean, Glenn Greenwald, he's I would call him politically center. He supported the left at times. He supported the right at times. He was calling out the Biden administration and the messed up things they were doing, and now he's calling out the Trump administration and all that. So, but this really shows you where, and I think this is maybe a minority of MAGA, because from what I can tell, it seems about like 2/3 of MAGA has really splintered off, and 2/3 might be a little bit high. You could maybe say like 3/5, but it definitely seems like that from where I'm standing here. And I'm someone who voted for Trump 3 times. U.S. Space Force awards Elon Musk SpaceX $2.29 billion contract to develop space-based military data network. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, and then this was kind of the police body cam footage of that whole thing with General Neil McCaslin, one of the missing scientists. So yeah, there's like new information with that. RFK is talking about chemtrails. He says it's a secret military agency. This gets into interregnum synarchy, like which we talked about. Now, this was interesting. There was a volcanic eruption in the Philippines, okay? And as the eruption was happening, as you see the lava's going down, there's a meteor that comes down here. Right here. And then you see a UFO that pops up. Just wait for it. Look at that. Really interesting, huh? So what was that going on? You know, there are things going on. We have no idea what's even really going on Earth. We're sequestered away from it, and it's about to get to the point, which is why they have to disclose. It's getting to the point where they have to tell us something, because it's creating a schizophrenic society. There's that. It looks like we're pretty much done. Oh, I guess last two things here. Yeah, last two things. Okay. Well, this was going on. So Hassan Piker, who is another big streamer on Twitch, or Hassan Abbey is his real name, but goes by Hassan Piker, which is interesting, you know, because there's some interesting ties you could make with that name with like Russia kind of stuff. And, you know, Russia was communist for a while too. So, but we won't even go there. So Hassan Abbey is talking about a clip from Nick Fuentes where he's pretty much celebrating the subpoena that he got because he went to Cuba. This dude claimed he was voting Democrat to punish Trump. This dude being Nick Fuentes. Claimed he's voting Democrat to punish Trump because he was a servant of Israel. Now he's back on the team because the admin is pursuing a critic of Israel. Okay, and then cause of death. Okay. Interesting. Oh, occupation slave. Okay. That's interesting. But yeah, so there's that going on. And then this is Nick Fuentes going back. You and your ilk on the left have supported censorship, deplatforming, violence, and political persecution of anti-Semites on the right for years. What goes around comes around, Roach. You should be imprisoned for animal abuse, which we won't even talk about the animal abuse thing because that's a whole thing with Hassan, which was kind of more last year. I think it was last year, like late last year. It might have been early this year. But where he shocked his dog, and everyone knows it. He like has a shock collar on his dog to make his dog stay. But anyway, and then you kind of have a little bit back and forth here. Given that you're currently championing, this is Hassan, given that you're currently championing the president going after prominent critics of Israel, you must feel comfortable the admin will never come after you. Not shocking to see you, Randy Fine, Laura Loomer align on this. Even some centrist Democrats agree with you. Yeah, literally everyone agrees that you should be in prison. What's your point? That might be the one silver lining about this administration, that at least one genuinely terrible person will face justice. And another thing that this does is it really debunks the far-right rumors, or far-right narrative on Nick Fuentes, because he's encouraging people to vote Democrat to punish this administration. And, you know, it's we're in our primaries right now. And I'm probably gonna primary as Republican here and try to get anyone that's standing against Israel in. It kind of depends. I gotta take a look here. We've got a while left on the primaries, but probably be doing something like that. But I haven't decided if I'm gonna do Democrat or Republican. My thing with voting is I typically vote for whoever's gonna bring more chaos in, and I can't. I haven't decided yet if more chaos is gonna come from getting a voting Democrat and having Democrats in to push back against the Republicans, or just letting the Republicans run with this ball and let things get worse and worse. You know, I'm still kind of measuring that out in my head because I believe in the whole scorpionic idea of we need to go through the flames for the society to get better. It's not going to be done for us. People are going to need to take to the streets. There's going to need to be, you know, a non-violent revolution. So... And then this was the only other one. We saw that those talks a few days back were actually going somewhere with the peace deal, or that's what was being said. You know, it's really hard to know. Of course, I looked at the astrology. I'm like, there ain't going to be no peace deal. Come on now. But then this guy, Ben Gavir, everyone calls him Ben Gvir. You know, that's his like last name hyphenated, but Itamar Ben Gvir, he went like freaking nuts, dude, when he heard about this. When he heard that there was going to be a peace agreement, like, oh, well, Israel's not going to allow that to happen. So we're an occupied nation. I'll read this. First of all, there is something called the real thing, which is human life. A bad agreement for the state of Israel can harm human life. I know that Prime Minister Netanyahu and all of us, as members of the cabinet, both small members and large cabinet, as the governing of Israel, cannot allow this to happen. And this is a bad agreement. This is an agreement that can harm the state of Israel, and we will not allow this to happen. A bad agreement will not happen. It cannot happen, because in the end, the agreement is bad. It has nothing to do with the elections or with the animals, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so like, it's just wild. But we'll take a peek here at the live feed here. Let's see what's going on. Some stuff with clavicular. I love being underestimated. What's this? Nick Fuentes' viewership is up 500% in the last year, by the way. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, most young men you know are watching Nick Fuentes. I can assure you. Like young men, Gen Zers. Like I know some in my own personal life who he's a young man, Gen Z, really cool dude. And we bonded over this because I just spotted him. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's a Chad. Like he knows about Nick Fuentes. I'm gonna like drop a couple little virtue signals so he knows I know. And that's when we started to hit it off. But like his family, like they're like very liberal, very LGBT, everything like that. And they have no idea. And that's the thing. So he has much more sway than people realize. Let's see here. Just see if there's anything interesting. SpaceX rocket passes right in front of sun. Oh, that's kind of cool. All right. Justin, UFO and alien evidence to take center stage on Capitol Hill in just days. And so, you know, I'm going to bookmark that and I'll tweet on that in a moment because let's take a look here. So just a few days, we're going to have it will be the moon in Sag over the weekend here. But what I would say, and this has been my whole thing, is when we have the moon conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, then that was when we saw the first drop. And then also, the second drop was in the opposition to that, which was Pluto and Leo. So my prediction has been that we'll continue to have these drops. So you could see this early. I think you'll see this early Thursday morning. This is when I think you'll see this. Now it's possible they do it right on Monday. And if they do it right on Monday, then it would be tied to the full moon. Yeah. Which is another prediction I made. Really what I said, which was separate from the prediction on when we're getting these disclosures, like in waves and everything. Not that it's going to be anything too special. But my prediction for this full moon was going to be that there's going to be some information that comes out. And you give that a 2-week period past the full moon. So the full moon is on Sunday, I believe. Yeah, it's on Sunday. If I remember right. I'm not like going to do all that right now, but because I'm on like a different panning thing. Full moon is on Sunday, and then so if it was early in the morning on Monday, yeah, it would still be the moon would still be in Sag, so it could even be tied around that prediction I gave with like new information. But then that would actually be potent information. It would be something that really kind of shifts things a little bit, because this other stuff has been really nothing burgers. And then the interesting thing that you get with that, you actually get a trine of that moon Monday morning. Yeah, it's going to be in trine to Chiron in Aries at that last degree. So that's an interesting placement. It, really deals with the wound around the self, but also the wound around the identity of the nation. So I thought that the information would be tied to that. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking is, You get Monday morning or you get Thursday morning on that. So that's my prediction there. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at some other aspects here to this on Monday specifically. And then we're gonna head out, guys. Yeah, I mean, you got some sesquiquadrates, some inconjuncts. Not really worth noting. I guess there's some in Cancer that are worth noting there, especially with Venus closing in on Jupiter there. We're going to have that Venus-Jupiter conjunction. That should be good for whatever house that rules for you in your astrology. Whatever house Cancer is going to rule, if you look at your astrology chart. There's plenty of free apps you can go to, but check out that chart. And then that's actually coming. This is the last thing I'll say. That's coming. That conjunction will be just about a week from now. Friday night into Saturday morning is where you'll see that conjunction come in. And then that conjunction will be going for a little bit. You'll have that for about a week. You'll have that conjunction. So the second, so June 5th up until like June 12th. Expect something in that realm of life. So Cancer rules the home. Obviously, it's your roots, it's like that sense of belonging. It's your tribe, that kind of thing. But so there's always going to be that aspect of it to it. But it'll be kind of more personalized to your chart and which house Cancer rules. For me, Cancer rules, at least this part of Cancer here, that rules my 11th house. So it's going to be around my networks. It's going to be some type of blessing that comes in around networking, the connections I make with people that are like online, or just like networks in general, that kind of thing. So that's where it'll hit for me. But yeah, keep an eye on your chart for that. And this will be tied. You should see it tied pretty well to the full moon and whatever new revelations that come through on that full moon in Sagittarius, because it's going to be dealing with belief systems. Look at what house that is in your chart. In my chart, that's the 4th house. So then this comes back to the home. You know what I mean? Home, networks I make from home, which would be stuff like this. Networking I do from home, that kind of stuff. And which is funny because this Venus-Saturn thing came in, which I'm guessing it's going to be when my renovations are done on my bathroom here. So I had two guys came in today, and they like cut out the floor in my upstairs bathroom. So now it's going directly into my my garage. So I can walk in the bathroom and I can look down into my garage. They had to take out the whole thing because the previous homeowner, she didn't take care of anything. So I have insurance, so it's fine. But that was my Saturn square Venus moment. Saturn in Aries right now, kind of getting a start on things, and then squaring Venus in Cancer. And so there's something about that is going to tie, even with that, like just to like Aquarian things, because 11th house is ruled by Aquarius. So it's going to tie into Aquarian things. It's going to, definitely help me with my escapism, state of mind with doing these things too, just having a nicer bathroom, because it was kind of, it was an old bathroom, if we're being honest. But just that kind of stuff. So definitely check out your chart for that. But that is the news show, guys. How long did we go for? Oh, not too long. About like 2 hours. A little longer than I'm used to. I usually try to go an hour and a half, but hopefully you got some good insight on the news coverage. This was a pretty fun week. Like I said, not that anything really crazy happened, but it was an eventful week where we're seeing things shift behind the scenes, getting ready for something. And then astrologically, as I said, get ready for Sunday. That's the full moon in Sagittarius. I have up on my channel the stream I did with my colleagues Merlin, Wise Wizard Merlin, at Wise Wizard Merlin, Wise with a Z, and then at Esperanza Bense Tarot. And that's Bense with a V as in Victor. And so she does tarot and astrology. Incredible astrologer, incredible tarot reader. But we all just did a collaboration. We chopped it up about the moon, kind of put all of our stuff out on the table that we think is going on with this moon, what energies we think it's bringing in, that kind of stuff. And so all my predictions for the moon are right there. And I maybe I'll clip some of that stuff too. You know, I might clip some of it, uh, especially if like when we're looking at those predictions being true and everything like that, because I've got like an 80% success rate on predictions, roughly 80%. Sometimes we can dip down to 70%. Sometimes I swing up to 90% when I've had a good couple weeks, but that's roughly where I'm at. So I think you can take those things I said with a fairly decent grain of salt. Could be wrong. You never know. You don't get them all right. That's part of being an astrologer. But this is the energy that I feel coming on, because when you're an astrologer, you are a bit of a mystic in some type of way. So you're an empath. You're a channel, like in these weird type of ways. And I don't go all the way with being a channeler. You don't want to actually have things coming in, talking through you and stuff like that. But it's more of accessing the flow state and having just insights come through that are like, oh wow, yeah, that does make sense, and that's like the vibe I'm feeling, and that lines up with the astrology. And so that's why astrology is an incredible system to use. If it wasn't an incredible system, I wouldn't have been able to take a year off of working in general, because of my astrology being combined with my crypto trading. So this is why, like, I kind of try to give a little bit of financial stuff, because it's like, I definitely have a pulse on where the markets are at. But you guys take it easy. Have a good one. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I hope you get some value from this. And if you're interested in a reading, that's going to be nightslight.co, or you can go to Linktree